The big pond, Mille Lacs Lake, one of my favorite lakes on the planet. Big smallmouth, big walleye, big muskie, you name it. Now, I had the opportunity to sit down with Brad Hawthorne, who's one of the top guides on the lake, and pick his brain on a little Q&A. Let's jump right in. What makes Mille Lacs Lake unique?
If you put it in a nutshell, three different parts of the lake. So the northern area, the northwest area is going to be like your mud flats. And then you go to the northeast area, that's all sand. And then the south end is basically all rock. So if you're a guy that's good fishing around rock, you can concentrate on the southeast and southwest end of the lake. If you're a mud flat fisherman, you have the largest mud flats in the state of Minnesota to fish. And if you're a guy that just likes easy fishing, snag free, living the dream, just trolling around, you can go up to the sand and usually find fish, depending on time of year, anywhere from 3 to 32 feet of water, and just run a trolling program up there and you'll catch fish. The other part about Mille Lacs that makes it unique is the diverse fish populations. I mean, Mille Lacs has been in the news, it's always going to be in the news, just because it's the Twin Cities playground. It's an hour and a half away from the cities, and you have several different species of fish that are always in flux, that always give the angler something to target depending on time of year we're at.
What is your favorite way to target walleyes throughout the various seasons?
It's going to be rigging. If I had to pick one way to target walleyes, like if I couldn't fish with anything else, it would be rigging leeches, rigging crawlers, rigging minnows. And as the season progresses, you start with leeches, move to crawlers, and you bounce between crawlers and leeches throughout the summertime period. And then in fall, you slip into that 4 to 7, 8-inch sucker and chub, and that bite is just awesome. And you can feel that minnow wiggling, and that's your indicator that you're gonna get bit, and it's probably gonna be a big one.
What about walleyes during the ice season?
Ice fishing on Mille Lacs there's like 3 different cultures of ice fishermen on Mille Lacs. You have the hardcore guys that, like myself, that go out and portable fish and drill till you find fish. And then you have the permanent fish house guys who have fish houses at the resorts, and they pull them out, and they may move once or twice, and these guys may go do the portable thing during the day, but they have their nice big shacks with flat screen TVs and all the amenities at home, and it's like a cabin on ice. And then you have your wheelhouse guy, who is, if it's hot on red, he's going to be on red. If it's hot on Mille Lacs, he's going to be right there. So you have the transient fisherman, you have the permanent fisherman, you have the portable fisherman. And the cool part about Mille Lacs is in the winter, even on a slow day, if you fish a high percentage spot, like the tip of a mud flat, transition areas, the fish are eventually going to come through. So if you're just going to camp and grind, usually even the novice angler can be highly successful on Mille Lacs using tip ups, set lines, even just jigging a plain silver spoon just off the bottom.
What's your favorite way to target bass?
It's such a short window, and all my customers ask for it every year. Like, they try to get right on that topwater bite, and it's such a narrow window. And when it goes, and we're on it for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. And then individual days throughout the season we can get on a topwater bite, but literally it's around the time when the bugs hatch, just when the fish are pulling off the spawn and they're super aggressive and they just putting on the feed bag, and they're hitting, you can get them to hit 6-7 inch topwaters, and it's an absolute blast. So topwaters, my second one on Mille Lacs is swim baits. Swim baits are just a fun way to fish. Whether you're doing a straight retrieve, smallmouth don't hit a swim bait lightly. They almost always whack it and take off running, jump. It's just a blast.
What are some of your favorite colors on Mille Lacs?
Hot colors for smallmouth is going to be, I know it gets beat up a lot, but if you're chucking tubes for bass, it's going to be your green pumpkin. Also, Northland makes a mustard color that it amazes me that it doesn't sell out, because it's a standard, it's an ugly color, but it works very, very well. Walleyes on Mille Lacs, orange. Orange is always, whether you're rigging, orange hook, orange float, spinners, you always have some type of orange on there, orange-blue combination. I know it sounds like a weird combination, but it works. And as far as when you get into crankbait season, a lot of that natural stuff works on Mille Lacs, and here's where Mille Lacs is odd as far as color and crankbaits go. You'll see a day where you're trolling natural perch, and then you'll see a day where it's all UV, and it amazes me that the fish can go on the spectrum from here to here day by day, because not a lot of bodies of water where you can fish a natural perch at 7 in the morning, and then by noon you have UV pink tiger on going 2.5 mile an hour, and they're just crushing it.
Are there any misconceptions about the lake?
That the lake is in trouble. The lake is not in trouble. The lake, in my opinion, again, has never really been in trouble. The years that the lake was shut down to walleye fishing, or the season it was, the fish just didn't bite. You know, everyone thought, oh, there's no fish in Mille Lacs and this and that, and it's that they didn't bite. As we've seen this year and the year before, there's tons and tons of fish in Mille Lacs. So if the biggest misconception that the media puts out is Mille Lacs is fished out. And as seen at the Bassmaster Classic last year, a lot of the guys had problems targeting smallmouth because the walleye simply wouldn't let them. And if that's not a tattletale, I don't know what is. The other part on Mille Lacs is wind. Everyone says you got to fish this side of the flat in a wind, in this wind, and blah, blah, blah. And granted, Mille Lacs is wind dependent. It is. But I wouldn't want anyone to fall into that. With a west wind, you always have to fish the east side of the flat or the west side. Turn on your fish finder, drive around, and fish where the fish are, and you will always catch more fish.
What is your favorite end of the lake and why?
Southeast corner, because I live there. Southeast corner of the lake is, where you live, you get to know that area first. And when side imaging first came out, I literally spent days down there marking spots, because it was a time period where finally your eyes are wide open to the underwater world. And it was interesting to see these pieces of structure that what you thought they looked like on the map chip and what you envisioned them being is completely wrong. Like some rock points were literally like 6 big rocks. And here I'd pictured it being a handful of like cobblestone on a point. So definitely the southeast corner, just because it has everything. And you have mud, you have rock, you have sand, you have big boulders. I mean, it's just an amazing end of the lake that, if I had to guess, for any angler would be the most difficult to learn, because there is so much structure on the southeast corner of the lake.
Are there any common mistakes people make out on Mille Lacs?
Fishing too shallow. I see a lot of guys coming up south. You know, Mille Lacs has been highly publicized for the smallmouth fishing. They fish too shallow. Guys come up and I get the DIY fishing thing. I totally get it. And here's where your guides come into play. I see a lot of guys jump in their bass boat and they start down the shoreline, and I'm out with my customers quarter, half mile, 2, 3 miles offshore, whacking on fish, and you come back in and they're 6 miles down the shoreline and they're just beating the shoreline up 50 to 80 feet off the whole way down. And you would think because the shoreline's rocky and it looks good that it would be bass territory, and the truth of the matter is the fish will creep up into shallows on calm days, but that 2 to 3 foot of water, the fish tend to stay out of there, and that's largely due to the waves. When the lake starts rolling, that's really, really turbulent water, and the fish just end up staying off. The other thing is, it's the crayfish. You're always going to find smallmouth around crayfish. It makes up 90% of their diet, and that's the other part, is bait choice. Crayfish baits are always going to be #1 picks on Mille Lacs. Drop shotting too is another one where I see a lot of guys. It's a highly effective technique, don't get me wrong, and some guys drop shot all year long. That's all they do. To be good on Mille Lacs, you need to be well versed in several different techniques. So don't grind on the drop shot all year, and you'll catch more fish. Certain time periods it's better, especially when the fish are deep. And look for the offshore structure. Don't just cast at big rocks because you see some rocks on shore.
What is the most underappreciated bite on Mille Lacs?
The pike. Definitely the pike fishing on Mille Lacs. It's really like, if I imagine pike fishing on Mille Lacs, it's probably like what Canada was in the 1960s and 70s, where you throw on a 5 of diamonds or a super shad and you kick your boat up to 3.5 miles an hour, find weeds, find rock. They're all over the place and they are gigantic. I mean, my personal best pike on Mille Lacs is 46 inches, and several fish come out. It's common. You go to every resort that I launch at several different resorts during the week, and you go up to Fishers, for instance, and they're like, oh yeah, a guy just caught a 45-inch pike right out front. And it's just commonplace, and they're just an underutilized fish. I can't think of another lake in the state where an angler could actually just spend $10 on lures and line, go out and troll at 3 miles an hour and have a shot at a true trophy pike.
What is the best time of year to fish Mille Lacs?
Spring and fall. Spring and fall. You know, actually, you got to rewind that. Like, I'm going to say the whole year. You know, outside of the dog days of summer, it can be tough, but spring we have that terrific rig bite, and then we transition usually into blades, and then into lead core, and then we revert back to that. You know, as the season goes on, at night we're fall trolling in the shallows, but then we revert back to rigging minnows, pulling spinners, and the fishing on Mille Lacs is always good. And the same with smallmouth. I mean, we go from chuck and jerk baits in the spring and hair jigs when it's slow to tubes and plastics, then into drop shot, and then that feeding frenzy right before fall, which no one really fishes, is absolutely outstanding to spend a day on the water. I challenge anyone to spend the day on Mille Lacs in the fall targeting smallmouth with your gloves and hat on, and I guarantee you're going to catch some of the biggest bass of your lifetime.